And police in South Africa are investigating the killing of a Nigerian national during an anti-drug operation in Windsor, northern Johannesburg. Opposition party Action SA says the shooting occurred during a coordinated effort to disrupt drug activity in the area. According to Action SA, the Nigerian national, who was suspected of involvement in drug trafficking, was shot dead during the operation. The party confirmed that Ekhuleni mayoral candidate, Councillor Zolani Khumalo, was present at the scene. Khumalo also acknowledged the incident in a post on the social media platform X. Action SA says crime and lawlessness remain central issues in its campaign for Ekhuleni, arguing that weak law enforcement has allowed organized crime to flourish. And to discuss further, we're joined from Johannesburg by Action SA spokesperson Siyanda Makhubo and also Reverend Frank Onyekwelu, President of the Nigerian Citizens Association in South Africa, that's NICASA. Gentlemen, you're welcome. Thank you very much for joining us this afternoon. Makhubo, let me start with you. What more can you tell us about the circumstance surrounding the death of the Nigerian national?
Thank you for having us all the way in Johannesburg. So what happened last night was that there was an anti-drug bust in Johannesburg. Johannesburg is infested with drug syndicates, as we have been made aware. And yesterday there was a raid in that particular area where our mayoral candidate, Councillor Khumalo, was involved. Perhaps your viewers would know that he is involved in the NGO space, working with law enforcement agencies in trying to rid of drugs on our streets. There was a filming of this taking place yesterday afternoon. And what transpired was that there was an alteration with the law enforcement agencies as well as these alleged drug kingpins. And within that alteration, there was a shootout, and unfortunately, one person passed away. And we understand that he was of Nigerian descent, and it has been alleged that he was a drug lord, confirmed drug lord within the community.
When you say there was a shootout, who exactly fired the shot that killed him? Was it the SA police?
So whilst the drug raid was being conducted, the alleged drug kingpins refused access to law enforcement agencies. A warrant of search and seizure was granted, and they refused the law enforcement agencies to come into property to do what they're supposed to do, which is search the property. And then alterations ensued, and there was a shootout. We understand that the first people to fire the shootout were the people in the property, and obviously police opened fire, and that's what transpired. And throughout the entire incident, police did say that they had received reports that the property dwellers were threatening local security officers, which would have necessitated into extra police force being brought onto the property.
All right, thank you, Makhubo. Frank, how is the Nigerian community in South Africa reacting to the reports of yet another Nigerian being killed?
Thank you, viewers, and thank you for having me on this program this evening. The Nigerian community is deeply saddened and disturbed by this killing. First and foremost, we mourn the loss of a human life. Allegations, no matter how serious it is, do not justify the execution or taking the law into one's hand. We are deeply saddened, we are mourning, and I can hear my colleague from Action SA saying that there was a search warrant, there was a shooting. Unfortunately, that cannot be confirmed, as the young man that was killed was shot right inside his car. Not armed, there was no resistance from him of any kind, if there is anything after all against him. And so it still remains a question to be answered, a puzzle to be solved. How come he was shot inside his own car? And why some Nigerians are helping him out of the car, he was still breathing, before ambulance came, and then he was confirmed dead. Why were there no other people affected by the casualty of bullets, since he said there were shootings? It's important to be clear on something. allegations remains allegation until tested by the court of law. And South Africa as a nation is constitutionally a democratic nation, and they have due process.
Okay, then.
And that principle must apply to everyone, regardless of their nationality.
All right, then, Frank.
So we condemn this act.
All right,
Thank
then, Frank.
you.
Frank, let me talk to Sianda Makuba again. Sianda, were any drugs or illegal substance recovered during the operation? And if so, what justified the use of deadly force in this case?
Yeah, look, we have received unconfirmed statements from the police, and obviously an investigation is still currently underway, that whilst the area was cordoned off, drugs were found on the property. The amount of drugs, the type of drug is something that the police can confirm at a later stage. But weapons, illegal firearms, and alleged human trafficking in the form of prostitution was found to have been an activity which was found at this particular property. But obviously this is what the police need to confirm. But this is what we are having as primarily reports coming through from the police. What we understand is that there was an alteration, there was a confrontation by property dwellers. And what we understand is that there was constant movement around the property. One of the security officers there then decided to call the police onto the scene because the drug raid was conducted by a foundation, which is then given authority and jurisdiction to conduct these raids. If they do need backup from other law enforcement agencies, they are then able to call the police. And this is why they call the police, because what we understand that there were visible guns being thrown out, and they felt threatened, and that's why the police were called onto the scene. What happened and what transpired is something that I can't exactly confirm, but what I do know is that the first gunshots were fired from these dwellers, and obviously law enforcement agencies reacted to those shots.
And so what's Action SA doing? Is Action SA working with community leaders or security agencies to try and make sure that this doesn't happen again?
Certainly. So we're a political party and we find representation in all levels and spheres of government. And certainly what we're encouraging is that the police does its investigation, number one. Number two, to get Home Affairs onto the scene because a number of people found to the property have been confirmed to be illegal foreigners. And this is why we're encouraging Home Affairs working together with law enforcement agencies to do that work, deport who needs to be deported, prosecute those who need to be prosecuted for first and foremost breaking the immigration laws of our country, and secondly, of course, the other common law laws found in possession of drugs. Third, we are supporting a white paper, a bill in Parliament right now, a white paper on immigration, which speaks directly to these issues on how drug trafficking finds its way from all corners of the world into South Africa and to be transited into the country. So this is something that Action SA is working on. But first and foremost, it's strengthening our laws, number one, and number two, making sure that these bylaws are not violated, so that those who are found in wanting are prosecuted through the right authorities.
Okay. Frank, back to you. Have you engaged the South African authorities over this incident? What steps are being taken to ensure justice is fairly met?
Thank you so much. Yes, of course, NECASA has formally engaged the relevant South African authorities, and we continue to do so. We have also notified our Nigerian consulate. The ambassador is aware of this matter. Our consular officer, they are all aware, and they are working closely with the diplomatics. We are also following closely to ensure that this matter is handled through the proper legal channels and the diplomatic channels that are necessary. Our focus now is ensuring a transparent, impartial investigation. We focus on accountability where necessary, and then adherence to the rule of law. South Africa, like I mentioned before, is a very law-abiding community. They have a process, and we want that process to be followed. So we are monitoring all developments closely, and we are advocating for justice to be served without any bias or any delay. And that we will continue to look forward to answers, as we have asked a lot of questions through the diplomatic channels, through the offices of our consulate officers, and we're expecting answers.
Gentlemen, let me say thank you, Makuba. Thank you, Frank, for joining us this afternoon for the 3 p.m. bulletin. Thank you.